You wake up in a tiny egg, no bigger than a grain of rice, glued to the underside of a leaf in complete darkness. Inside your egg, you're developing fast. Your mother laid you here months ago, along with dozens of your siblings, scattered across leaves and soil. She didn't stick around to see you grow up. That's not how fireflies do things. You're on your own from the moment you break free from that shell. The egg cracks. You push through, and suddenly you're out in the world. But here's the thing. You don't look anything like the firefly adults that people love to watch. You're a larva, and you look more like a tiny armored worm than anything magical. Your body is dark, segmented, and covered in what looks like medieval armor plating. You've got 6 stubby legs, powerful jaws, and most importantly, you're hungry, incredibly hungry. Your siblings are hatching around you, some faster, some slower. The ones that got out first are already moving, already hunting. You don't have time to figure out what's happening. Your instincts kick in immediately. Find food, eat, survive. That's it. That's your entire world right now. The first thing you notice is that you can glow, not the romantic, gentle glow that adult fireflies are famous for. Your glow is different. It's coming from spots along your body, and it's not for attracting mates or looking pretty. It's a warning. You're toxic, and that glow tells everything around you to stay away unless they want to get poisoned. Smart move, evolution. You start crawling through the leaf litter, your armored body pushing through decaying plants and dirt. The world down here is massive and terrifying. Every shadow could hide something that wants to eat you. Every sound could mean danger, but you're not helpless. Those jaws of yours aren't just for show. Then you smell it, prey. It's faint, but your senses are incredibly sharp. You follow the scent through the undergrowth until you find what you're looking for. A snail. It's huge compared to you, probably 50 times your size. But that doesn't matter. You're a firefly larva, and snails are exactly what you're built to hunt. Here's where things get really wild. You don't just attack the snail and hope for the best. You're way smarter than that. You climb onto its shell and start doing something that would make a horror movie director proud. You inject the snail with venom, not just any venom, a cocktail of digestive enzymes that basically turns the snail's insides into soup while it's still alive. The snail tries to retreat into its shell, but you're already inside its defenses. You keep injecting, keep liquefying its organs, and then you do something that's going to fuel your nightmares if you were capable of having them. You drink it. You suck up the liquefied snail like it's a smoothie. The entire process takes hours, and by the time you're done, there's nothing left but an empty shell. You've just had your first meal, and it's not going to be your last. Over the next few weeks, you're going to hunt down snails, slugs, and worms with the efficiency of a serial killer. You're like a tiny armored tank rolling through the forest floor, liquefying everything in your path. Your body grows with each meal, your armor gets thicker, and your hunting skills get sharper. But the world down here isn't just full of prey. There are things that want to eat you too. Beetles with jaws that could cut you in half. Spiders that could wrap you up before you even know they're there. Birds that could swallow you whole without even noticing. That's where your toxic glow comes in handy. Most predators learn pretty quickly that glowing things in the forest are usually bad news. You spend most of your time hiding during the day, buried under leaves or tucked into crevices in the bark. When night falls, that's when you come alive. You crawl out of your hiding spot and start hunting. Your eyesight isn't great, but you don't need it to be. You hunt by smell and touch, following chemical trails left by your prey. One night, you're stalking a particularly large slug when something goes wrong. A ground beetle, easily 3 times your size, spots you. It's got mandibles like scissors, and it's not intimidated by your glow. You freeze, hoping it will lose interest, but it keeps coming. You've got two choices, fight or flight. You choose fight. You rear up on your hind legs, making yourself look bigger, and you flash your warning lights as bright as you can. The beetle hesitates for a second, and that's all you need. You lunge forward and clamp your jaws onto one of its legs. Your venom starts working immediately, but the beetle is strong. It thrashes around trying to shake you off, and for a moment you think you might have made a huge mistake. But your venom is potent. The beetle's movements slow down, then stop altogether. You've just taken down prey that's bigger than anything you've ever attempted before. It takes you 2 days to fully consume it, but when you're done, you've grown noticeably larger. You're becoming a more efficient predator with every meal. Winter is coming, and you can feel it in the air. The temperatures are dropping, and prey is becoming scarce. But you're not worried. You've got a secret weapon. You can basically shut down your metabolism and wait it out. You find a deep crevice under a log and settle in for the long haul. Your body goes into a state that's almost like suspended animation. Your heart rate drops, your breathing slows, and you enter a kind of living death. Months pass. Snow covers the ground above you. The world goes quiet and cold, but you're still alive, waiting. Your body is using the fat reserves you built up during your hunting season to keep your vital organs functioning. It's like being in a coma, except you're aware of everything around you. You can sense when the temperature changes, when the snow melts, when spring finally arrives. When you wake up, you're ravenous. You've lost weight during your hibernation, and your body is screaming for food, but you're also different now. Bigger, stronger, more experienced. You've survived your first winter, which is more than a lot of your siblings can say. Many of them didn't make it through the cold months. Your second year as a larva is even more intense than your first. You're now large enough to take on bigger prey. Earthworms that would have been impossible targets before are now regular meals. You've also developed better hunting strategies. You've learned to be patient, to wait for the perfect moment to strike. You spend another winter in hibernation, and when you wake up for the third time, you know something is different. Your body feels strange, like it's preparing for something big. You can sense that your time as a larva is coming to an end. The urge to hunt is still there, but it's being overshadowed by something else, a need to find the perfect place to transform. You start looking for a spot to pupate. It needs to be safe, hidden, but also somewhere you can easily escape from when the time comes. You find a hollow under a fallen log, just big enough for what you need to do. You start building a chamber out of mud and saliva, creating a cocoon that will protect you during your transformation. The process of pupation is unlike anything you've experienced. Your body literally dissolves itself and rebuilds from scratch. Your digestive system, designed for liquefying prey, gets completely restructured. Your stubby legs disappear and are replaced by longer, more delicate ones. Wings start growing from your back. Your jaws, once powerful enough to inject venom, become weak and designed for sipping nectar. Most dramatically, your light-producing organs undergo a complete overhaul. What was once a simple warning system becomes a sophisticated communication device. The cells that will produce your adult glow are completely different from your larval warning lights. They're more efficient, more controlled, and capable of producing specific patterns that will define your entire adult existence. The transformation takes about 2 weeks. When you finally break free from your pupal chamber, you're no longer the armored predator you've been for the past 2 years. You're now a delicate adult firefly with gossamer wings and a body that seems almost too fragile to survive in the world that nearly killed you dozens of times as a larva. Your first flight is terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. You've never been more than a few inches off the ground, and suddenly you're soaring through the air. Your wings beat so fast they're practically invisible, and you're moving through a three-dimensional world that you never knew existed. The forest looks completely different from up here. But here's the thing that's going to define the rest of your life. You're now on a timer. As a larva, you had years to grow and hunt and survive. As an adult, you've got maybe a month, maybe two if you're lucky. Your digestive system is so simplified that you can barely process food. You can sip some nectar, maybe eat some pollen, but you're essentially running on the energy reserves you built up during your larval years. Your entire adult existence is focused on one goal: reproduction. Everything else is secondary. You need to find a mate, and you need to do it fast. That's where your light comes in. Your species has a specific flash pattern, a kind of Morse code that identifies you to potential mates. Males flash one pattern, females respond with another. It's like a conversation conducted entirely in light. You start flashing as soon as the sun goes down. Your light organ, located in your abdomen, produces a greenish-yellow glow that's visible from hundreds of feet away. The pattern is built into your DNA. You don't have to learn it, you just know it. Flash, pause, flash, flash, pause, flash. Over and over again, you repeat your species' signature. The competition is intense. You're not the only firefly out there looking for love. The air is filled with flashing lights, each one trying to attract a mate. Some of your competitors are bigger than you. Some flash brighter. Some have better timing. You've got to make yourself stand out somehow. That's when you discover something incredible about your light. You can control it with precision that would make a laser technician jealous. You can adjust the brightness, the duration, even the exact color. You start experimenting, making your flashes just a little brighter, holding them just a little longer. You're essentially creating a personal advertisement in light. Then you see it. A response, a female of your species, flashing the correct reply pattern from a tree about 50 feet away. Your heart rate, it spikes. This is it. This is what your entire life has been leading up to. You fly toward her, flashing your approach pattern, and she responds with the appropriate signals. But as you get closer, something feels wrong. Her flashing pattern is just slightly off. The timing is right, the sequence is right, but there's something about the quality of the light that doesn't match what you're expecting. You slow down, hovering about 10 feet away, trying to figure out what's bothering you. That's when you see her properly for the first time. She's not your species at all. She's a Futurus firefly, a species known for mimicking the flash patterns of other fireflies. And she's not looking for love. She's looking for dinner. Adult fireflies like you are packed with defensive chemicals that she needs for her own survival. She's been luring males to their deaths all night. You bolt. Your wings beat frantically as you put distance between yourself and the predator. Behind you, she gives up the charade and starts flashing her own species pattern, looking for her next victim. You've just had your first encounter with the dark side of firefly romance. The experience makes you more cautious, but it doesn't stop you from searching. You continue flashing, continue looking for a genuine female of your species. The night is getting older, and you can feel time slipping away. Adult fireflies don't live long, and every night that passes without successfully mating is a night you can't get back. Finally, you see it. A response that's perfect. The timing, the brightness, the color. Everything matches exactly what you're looking for. You approach carefully, ready to flee if this turns out to be another trap. But as you get closer, you can see that this is the real deal. A female of your species, and she's genuinely interested in mating. The courtship is brief, but intense. You flash back and forth, fine-tuning your signals, making sure you're compatible. When you finally land on the same branch, you can smell her pheromones, chemical signals that confirm what your eyes have already told you. This is your mate. The mating itself is surprisingly gentle after the violence of your larval years. You connect with her, transfer your genetic material, and then it's over. You've successfully reproduced. Your biological mission is complete. But you're not done yet. You might live for a few more weeks, and there's always the possibility of finding another mate. Over the next few days, you watch as your mate goes about the business of laying eggs. She's incredibly careful about where she places them, choosing spots that will give the larvae the best chance of survival. Under leaves, in soft soil, near areas where snails and slugs are likely to be found, each egg represents a potential new life, a new cycle of the incredible transformation you've just completed. Your energy is starting to fade. The reserves you built up during your larval years are running low, and your simplified digestive system can't extract enough nutrition from the small amounts of nectar you're able to consume. You're literally burning yourself out, using up your life force to keep flying, keep flashing, keep searching for additional mates. One morning, you find yourself too weak to fly. Your wings, which have carried you through the most important weeks of your life, can barely lift your body off the ground. You crawl to a sheltered spot under a leaf and settle in. Your light organ gives one final weak flash and then goes dark forever. Your death is quiet, unremarkable, just another small life coming to an end in the vast complexity of the forest ecosystem. But your legacy is already growing. Somewhere in the soil and leaf litter around you, the eggs your mate laid are developing. In a few weeks, they'll hatch, and tiny larvae will emerge to begin the same incredible journey you've just completed. The transformation from egg to predatory larva to glowing adult is one of the most dramatic life cycles in the natural world. You spent 2 years as an armored hunter, liquefying your prey and surviving winters that killed countless other creatures. Then you spent a few weeks as a delicate light-producing adult, focused entirely on reproduction. Your species has been perfecting this life cycle for millions of years. The balance between the predatory larval stage and the reproductive adult stage has been fine-tuned by evolution to maximize survival and reproduction. You're part of an ancient lineage that has survived ice ages, mass extinctions, and countless environmental changes. But here's what makes your story even more remarkable. You're not just a single firefly. You're part of a global phenomenon. There are over 2,000 species of fireflies worldwide, each with their own unique flash patterns, their own specialized hunting strategies, their own perfect adaptations to their environment. Some species synchronize their flashing, creating light shows that can be seen from space. Others live in caves and don't produce light at all as adults. Your bioluminescence is the result of one of the most efficient chemical reactions in nature. The light you produced was created by combining luciferin, luciferase, ATP, and oxygen in specialized cells called photocytes. This reaction produces light with almost no waste heat, making it far more efficient than any artificial light source humans have ever created. The chemicals that made your light possible are now being used by scientists to study everything from cancer cells to food safety. Your luciferin and luciferase have become essential tools in medical research, helping doctors understand how diseases work and how to treat them. Your short life as a glowing adult has contributed to potentially saving human lives. But perhaps the most incredible part of your story is how it connects to the broader web of life. As a larva, you were a crucial predator, controlling populations of snails and slugs that could otherwise devastate plant communities. As an adult, you were both predator and prey, part of a complex food web that includes spiders, birds, frogs, and other insects. Your light, the feature that defines your species in the minds of humans, serves purposes that go far beyond simple mate attraction. It's a communication system, a warning signal, a defense mechanism, and a work of art all rolled into one. The patterns you flashed during your brief adult life were as unique and meaningful as any language humans have ever developed. The timing of your emergence, the intensity of your light, the success of your mating, all of these factors are being affected by human activities. Climate change is altering the timing of your life cycle. Light pollution is interfering with your ability to find mates. Habitat destruction is eliminating the places where your larvae can hunt and your adults can reproduce. Your species is part of a larger story about how life adapts, survives, and thrives in an ever-changing world. The transformation you underwent from larva to adult is a perfect example of how evolution has solved the problem of maximizing both survival and reproduction. You spent most of your life in a form optimized for survival, then briefly transformed into a form optimized for reproduction. This is the complete story of your life as a firefly. From a tiny egg to a predatory larva to a glowing adult, you experienced one of nature's most incredible transformations. You survived against impossible odds, found love in a brief flash of light, and contributed to the continuation of one of the most magical phenomena in the natural world. Your adult life is about to take a dramatic turn. But what were the struggles of your life? Let's recap. The first challenge hits you immediately after mating. Your energy reserves are depleting fast. Unlike your larval stage where you could hunt and feed continuously, adult fireflies have a completely different relationship with food. Some species don't eat at all during their adult phase. Others might sip nectar or consume pollen, but your digestive system has transformed so dramatically that substantial feeding is nearly impossible. Every flash you produce, every flight you take, every moment you spend alive is burning through the limited fuel you stored during your larval years. But energy depletion isn't your only concern. The same bioluminescent signals that helped you find a mate have also been broadcasting your location to every predator in the area. Spiders have been watching. They've learned to recognize the patterns, the timing, the exact spots where fireflies tend to flash. Web-building spiders position themselves strategically along flight paths, creating invisible death traps in the darkness. You can't see the silk strands until it's too late. One wrong turn, one miscalculated flight path, and you're stuck, struggling helplessly as the spider approaches. Then there are the ambush predators. Frogs and toads have been waiting in the tall grass, their eyes tracking the rhythmic flashes. They've learned that fireflies follow predictable patterns, often returning to the same perches, the same areas night after night. A frog doesn't need to chase you. It just needs to wait in the right spot and strike when you come within range. Their tongues shoot out faster than you can react, and your bioluminescent abdomen becomes nothing more than a brief glow inside their stomach. But the most insidious threat comes from within your own kind. Photorus fireflies, the femme fatales of the insect world, have perfected the art of deception. These predatory fireflies have learned to mimic the flash patterns of other species. They watch, they learn, they copy your exact signals. When a male approaches thinking he's found a receptive female of his own species, he discovers too late that he's flown directly into a trap. The Photorus female grabs him, kills him, and consumes him. She's not just feeding, she's also stealing his defensive chemicals, making herself more toxic to her own predators. This chemical warfare adds another layer to your survival challenge. The lucibuphigins you produce as defensive compounds work against many predators, but they're not foolproof. Birds that have learned to avoid your species might still attack if they're desperate enough. Assassin bugs and other predatory insects have evolved resistance to your toxins. Even your own chemical defenses become a liability when Photorus fireflies start hunting you specifically to steal those very compounds. The mating process itself creates additional vulnerabilities. When you're focused on courtship, when you're engaged in the delicate dance of synchronized flashing, your attention is completely absorbed. You're not scanning for predators. You're not watching for threats. You're locked into the mating ritual, and this tunnel vision makes you an easy target. Many fireflies die during or immediately after mating, caught off guard by predators who have learned to exploit these moments of distraction. If you survive the mating process, if you're female, you face the exhausting task of egg laying. You need to find suitable locations, often in leaf litter or soft soil, where your eggs will have the best chance of survival. This requires extensive searching, often on foot, making you vulnerable to ground-dwelling predators. Each egg you lay drains more of your energy reserves. You might lay dozens or even hundreds of eggs, depending on your species, and each one represents a significant investment of your remaining life force. The timing of your adult emergence also works against you. You've synchronized your development with others of your species, which means you're all competing for the same resources, the same mating opportunities, the same limited safe spaces. The competition is intense. Males outnumber females in many species, leading to aggressive territorial disputes over the best flashing locations. Females are constantly harassed by multiple males, forced to expend energy, avoiding unwanted attention while trying to identify the best genetic matches. Weather becomes a critical factor in your survival. Rain can ground you completely, forcing you to seek shelter while your precious energy reserves continue to deplete. Strong winds make flying dangerous and exhausting. Cold temperatures slow your metabolism and make your light-producing organs less efficient. Hot, dry conditions can desiccate your delicate body. You're essentially racing against time and weather, trying to complete your reproductive mission before either kills you. Your larval hunting grounds, the areas where you spent years learning to survive, are now largely irrelevant. Adult fireflies occupy different ecological niches, often preferring open areas, meadows, and forest edges where their light signals can be seen from greater distances. These new territories come with unfamiliar predators and unknown dangers. You're essentially starting over in terms of understanding your environment, but without the luxury of time to learn and adapt. As days pass, your body begins to break down. Your flight muscles weaken. Your light-producing organs become less efficient. Your reflexes slow. The coordination between your nervous system and your bioluminescent organs starts to fail. Your flashes become irregular, weaker, less attractive to potential mates, and potentially more attractive to predators who have learned to target weak or dying fireflies. The social dynamics of your species add another layer of complexity. Some fireflies form loose aggregations, creating spectacular light displays that can be seen from great distances. While these gatherings increase your chances of finding a mate, they also create massive targets for predators. Birds, bats, and other predators learn to associate these light shows with easy feeding opportunities. The very behavior that defines your species becomes a liability in your adult form. Your adult life is a constant balance between reproduction and survival, between the need to find mates and the need to avoid death. Every decision carries weight. Do you flash from a high perch where you'll be more visible to potential mates, but also more exposed to predators? Do you respond to that flash pattern that might be from a receptive female or might be from a predatory photurus? Do you invest energy in one more flight to a better territory, or do you conserve what little fuel you have left? The irony of your adult existence is that success in reproduction often hastens your death. The more energy you invest in courtship displays, the less you have for survival. The more successful you are at mating, the more attractive you become to predators who have learned to target reproductively active individuals. Your brightest moments, literally and figuratively, are also your most dangerous. This is the reality of adult firefly existence. You've survived the predator-rich larval stage, successfully pupated, and emerged as a flying beacon of biological light. But your adult life is measured in days or weeks, not the years you spent as a larva. Every flash could be your last. Every flight could end in a spider's web. Every potential mate could be a predator in disguise. You're living on borrowed time, racing to pass on your genes before your energy runs out or a predator finds you. The transformation from a ground-dwelling predator to a flying light show represents one of nature's most dramatic cycle changes, but it also represents one of the most dangerous transitions in the animal kingdom. Your adult form is beautiful, magical, and utterly vulnerable. The same adaptations that make you one of nature's most enchanting creatures also make you a target for everything that flies, crawls, or waits in the darkness. Now your focus shifts to something completely different. Your powerful bioluminescent system that once meant survival now becomes your primary tool for finding a mate. The same organs that warned predators away from your larval body now pulse with intricate patterns designed to attract rather than repel. But this transition isn't seamless. Your light production requires energy, and as an adult, you barely eat. Some firefly species don't feed at all during their brief adult phase. Your body runs on reserves built up during your voracious larval years, making every flash a calculated risk. The mating game begins at dusk. Males emerge first, their bodies lighter and more agile than females. You lift off from your resting spot, joining hundreds of other males as they begin their aerial dance. Each species has its own signature pattern. Some flash once every few seconds, others create rapid bursts of light, and still others produce long, sustained glows. Your pattern is encoded in your DNA, but executing it perfectly requires practice and precision. Your flight path isn't random. You patrol specific territories, usually areas with good visibility and minimal wind. Other males compete for the same prime real estate. The brightest spots, the calmest air currents, the highest vantage points, these become contested zones. You don't fight directly, but you do jostle for position, sometimes colliding with rivals or forcing them to alter their routes. The chemistry behind your light is extraordinary. Inside your photophores, luciferin combines with luciferase in the presence of oxygen, creating light with almost no heat. This cold light is nearly 100% efficient, something human technology still struggles to replicate. But the process demands oxygen, and you control this by regulating blood flow to your light organs. When you want a flash, you flood the photophores with oxygenated blood. When you want darkness, you cut off the supply. Your flashing pattern serves as both advertisement and filter. Females of your species recognize the specific rhythm, duration, and intensity of your signals. Get the timing wrong by even a fraction of a second, and you become invisible to potential mates. Flash too frequently, and you exhaust your energy reserves. Flash too rarely, and competitors outshine you. The balance requires constant adjustment based on conditions, competition, and your own physical state. Environmental factors complicate everything. Wind throws off your flight pattern. making it harder to maintain consistent positioning for your light display. Temperature affects your metabolism and flash rate. Humidity influences how far your light travels and how clearly females can see your signals. Even the phase of the moon matters, with many fireflies preferring darker nights when their bioluminescence stands out more dramatically. Predators exploit your vulnerability during mating displays. Spiders position themselves along common flight paths, building webs where fireflies are most likely to pass. Frogs and toads lurk in vegetation near mating sites, their own eyes adapted to track moving lights. Birds that hunt at dusk learn to associate firefly flashes with easy meals. Your light, so essential for reproduction, also makes you a beacon for anything that wants to eat you. The most insidious threat comes from your own kind. Photurus fireflies, sometimes called femme fatale, have evolved to mimic the flash patterns of other species. These predatory females watch male displays, then copy the signals of species they want to hunt. When a male approaches expecting to mate, he instead becomes a meal. The deception is so sophisticated that these predators can mimic multiple species in the same evening, switching between different flash patterns to lure different prey. Your sensory system works overtime during mating season. Your compound eyes are specially adapted to detect bioluminescent signals against varying backgrounds. You can distinguish between the flash of a potential mate and the reflection of your own light off a leaf. Your antennae detect pheromones that females release to supplement their visual signals. Your legs sense vibrations in whatever surface you land on, picking up additional courtship information. Competition intensifies as the night progresses. Early in the evening, you might have space to maneuver and time to perfect your display. As more males join the aerial chorus, the sky fills with flashing lights. Females become overwhelmed with options, making their choices more selective. You find yourself working harder for the same attention, flying longer distances, flashing more frequently, burning through energy reserves at an unsustainable rate. Territory disputes escalate when good display sites become scarce. You hover near a prominent perch, flashing your species-specific pattern when another male approaches. He doesn't attack directly, but he positions himself to interfere with your display. His light flashes just slightly out of sync with yours, creating visual confusion for watching females. You adjust your timing, he adjusts his. The competition becomes a dance of milliseconds, each male trying to optimize his signal while disrupting his rivals. Weather can end your mating opportunities abruptly. A sudden rainstorm grounds all fireflies, forcing you to seek shelter and wait. Strong winds scatter the aerial displays, making it impossible to maintain the precise positioning needed for effective signaling. Temperature drops slow your metabolism, reducing your ability to produce bright flashes. Each night of poor weather is a night lost from your already brief adult lifespan. Your energy reserves dwindle with each passing day. The fat stores built up during your larval years power everything your flight, your light production, your basic metabolism. Unlike your larval stage, when you could hunt and feed to replenish energy, your adult digestive system is minimal. Some firefly species can sip nectar or consume small amounts of pollen, but for many, the adult stage is essentially a slow starvation punctuated by brief moments of reproduction. The female response system adds another layer of complexity to your mating efforts. Females don't just passively wait for males to find them. They actively evaluate potential mates, comparing flash intensities, timing precision, and flight patterns. A female might respond to multiple males simultaneously, testing their persistence and quality before making her final choice. Your single flash might trigger responses from several females, but reaching them requires navigating through a gauntlet of competing males and environmental hazards. Success brings its own dangers. When a female responds to your display, signaling her location and interest, you must reach her quickly. Other males see the same response and converge on the same spot. The race becomes aerial chaos, with multiple males diving toward the same female. Collisions are common, and the fastest flyer doesn't always win. Sometimes the female moves before you arrive, starting the process over again. Your brief adult existence is a concentrated burst of biological imperative. Every decision, flight path, energy expenditure, risk assessment serves the single goal of reproduction. The complex predator-prey relationships of your larval years give way to an even more complex mating dance, where success means continuation of your genetic line and failure means evolutionary dead end. Your light, evolution's gift to your species, becomes both your greatest asset and your most dangerous liability in these final, crucial days of your life. As the days grow warmer and your breeding season reaches its peak, you face a new reality. The delicate balance between reproduction and survival becomes increasingly precarious. Every flash of your bioluminescent signal is a beacon that draws both potential mates and deadly predators toward your fragile body. The competition intensifies as more males emerge from their pupal chambers. The air fills with countless pinpricks of light, each one representing another competitor, vying for the same females you're desperately trying to attract. Your species-specific flash pattern becomes your lifeline, the only way to distinguish yourself from the chaos of signals surrounding you. But you're not just competing with your own kind anymore. The Photorus females have perfected their deadly mimicry, copying your exact flash sequence with surgical precision. They've been watching, learning, adapting to your every signal. When you see what appears to be a receptive female responding to your calls, you face an impossible choice: approach and risk becoming her next meal, or hesitate and lose the opportunity to mate entirely. Your energy reserves are dwindling fast. Unlike your larval stage where you could hunt and feed continuously, your adult body is designed for one purpose only. The complex chemical reactions that power your bioluminescence consume precious resources with every flash. Each signal brings you closer to reproductive success, but also closer to complete exhaustion. The environmental pressures mount relentlessly. A sudden thunderstorm can wash away days of careful courtship, forcing you to start over when you can least afford the delay. The artificial lights from nearby human settlements create a maze of confusion, disrupting the natural darkness your species depends on for successful communication. Street lamps, porch lights, and car headlights all compete with your desperate attempts to find a mate. Your body begins to show the strain. The wings that once carried you effortlessly through the night air now feel heavy and unresponsive. Your bioluminescent organ, which burned so brightly just days ago, starts to dim and flicker inconsistently. The chemical factories within your cells are shutting down one by one, their biological machinery worn out from the constant demands of reproduction. Still, you persist. When you finally encounter a genuine female of your species, the courtship ritual begins in earnest. She tests you with subtle variations in her response pattern, ensuring you're truly a suitable mate and not another deceptive predator. You must prove your worth through the precision of your flashes, the timing of your responses, and the quality of your genetic material. The mating itself is brief, but crucial. In those fleeting moments, you transfer not just sperm, but the culmination of your entire existence. Every challenge you survived as a larva, every predator you escaped, every successful hunt you completed, all of it leads to this single act of genetic transmission. Your DNA mingles with hers, creating the potential for new life, that will face the same impossible odds you've just overcome. But success comes with a price. The act of mating further depletes your already limited energy reserves. Your immune system, weakened by the stress of reproduction, becomes vulnerable to infections and parasites that would have been easily repelled in your prime. Fungal spores begin to colonize your weakened exoskeleton, slowly spreading across your body like a creeping death sentence. The females you've successfully mated with face their own grim reality. They must now locate suitable sites for egg laying, often returning to the same types of environments where they themselves once hatched. But the world has changed since their larval days. Habitat destruction, chemical pollution, and climate change have altered the landscape in ways their ancient instincts cannot comprehend. She searches desperately for the perfect spot, testing soil moisture, organic content, and chemical composition with her specialized sensory organs. The eggs she carries represent the next generation of your species, but they're incredibly vulnerable. Too much moisture and they'll rot. Too little and they'll desiccate. The wrong soil chemistry will poison them before they can develop. Predators lurk everywhere, from ground beetles to parasitic wasps, all eager to consume the protein-rich eggs. When she finally finds a suitable location, the egg-laying process begins. Each egg is carefully placed with precision, positioned to maximize the chances of survival while minimizing detection by predators. She deposits them in small clusters, spreading the risk across multiple sites, meaning it's a numbers game, where even a small percentage of survivors represents success. The eggs themselves are marvels of biological engineering. Protected by tough outer shells, they contain all the nutrients and genetic instructions needed to create the next generation of fireflies. But they're also time bombs, programmed to hatch only when environmental conditions are perfect. Temperature, humidity, and seasonal cues all must align for the process to begin. As winter approaches, your adult life reaches its inevitable conclusion. The first frost arrives like a death sentence, killing exposed adults almost instantly. Your species has no mechanism for surviving the cold as adults. Unlike your hardy larvae, which can burrow deep into the soil and enter a state of suspended animation, adult fireflies are designed for one brief, brilliant season of reproduction. Your body, once a sophisticated flying machine capable of producing living light, becomes just another piece of organic matter returning to the earth. But the eggs your generation has left behind carry forward the genetic legacy of millions of years of evolution. They lie dormant in the soil, waiting for the warming temperatures of spring to trigger their development. The cycle prepares to begin anew. Inside each egg, the blueprint for another firefly waits patiently. The same challenges that defined your existence, the same predators that threatened your survival, the same environmental pressures that shaped your behavior all await the next generation. They will face new obstacles as well, as the world continues to change in ways that evolution could never have anticipated. Your species persists not through individual survival, but through the continuation of this ancient cycle. Each generation builds upon the genetic wisdom of those who came before, adapting incrementally to an ever-changing world. The bioluminescent signals that defined your adult life will flash again in the darkness, carried forward by offspring who will face their own impossible odds in the eternal struggle between life and death. The mating dance is over. Your eggs are safely tucked into moist soil, and your brief adult life is drawing to a close. But this isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of the next chapter. Your body is shutting down, systems failing one by one, but those eggs carry everything you've accomplished. They hold the genetic code that survived millions of years of evolution, the blueprint for another generation of living lanterns. As your wings grow heavy and your glow fades for the final time, you find yourself clinging to a blade of grass in the pre-dawn darkness. Your thorax rises and falls in shallow breaths, each one weaker than the last. The world around you is changing. Dawn is breaking, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, but you won't see another sunset. Your internal clock is winding down, your energy reserves completely depleted. This is how it ends for most fireflies, not with predators or disease, but with simple exhaustion. Your body was never built to last. Every system, every organ, every cell was designed for maximum efficiency during your brief window of reproductive opportunity. Now that window has closed, and there's nothing left to sustain you. But death doesn't come quietly. Even as your body fails, your nervous system continues firing, sending confused signals throughout your abdomen. Your light organ flickers sporadically, producing weak, irregular flashes that bear no resemblance to the precise patterns you once used to attract mates. It's your body's final attempt to communicate, a biological death rattle that serves no purpose except to mark the end. Your legs lose their grip on the grass blade, and you tumble to the ground, landing on your back among the fallen leaves and morning dew. The world above you is a blur of green and gold, the canopy swaying gently in the breeze. Somewhere in the distance, other fireflies are still flashing, still dancing, still living out their own brief adult lives. But their signals mean nothing to you now. That language of light, once so vital, has become foreign and incomprehensible. The decomposition process begins almost immediately. Bacteria that were held in check by your immune system now multiply freely, breaking down your tissues from the inside out. Your exoskeleton, once so perfectly engineered, becomes a hollow shell. The complex biochemical machinery that produced your light goes dark forever, the luciferin and luciferase breaking down into simpler compounds that will eventually return to the soil. Within days, your body will be completely recycled by the ecosystem. Bacteria will consume the soft tissues, beetles will pick apart the remaining fragments, and fungi will break down the last traces of your existence. The carbon that once formed your wings will become part of a leaf. The nitrogen that powered your muscles will nourish the roots of a tree. The phosphorus that helped generate your light will cycle through the soil, eventually becoming part of another living thing. But your eggs remain. Hidden in the moist earth, they carry forward the genetic legacy of countless generations. Each egg contains the instructions for building another firefly, complete with the ability to produce light, to hunt, to survive, and to reproduce. They're time capsules, waiting for the right conditions to trigger the next phase of the cycle. As autumn progresses and temperatures drop, your eggs enter a state of suspended animation, their metabolic processes slow to a crawl, just enough to maintain the basic cellular functions that keep them alive. They'll wait through the harsh winter months, through freezing temperatures and snow, through the dormant season when the world seems lifeless and still. This waiting period isn't passive. Inside each egg, crucial developmental processes are occurring. Genetic programs are being activated and deactivated in precise sequences. Cell division continues at an imperceptible pace. The embryo is slowly organizing itself, laying down the basic body plan that will eventually become a larva. But this process is stretched across months, synchronized with the seasonal rhythms that have governed firefly reproduction for millions of years. The winter months are brutal. Many of your eggs won't survive. Some will be eaten by predators who specialize in finding overwintering insect eggs. Others will succumb to fungal infections or bacterial diseases. Extreme cold snaps can kill entire clutches, while flooding can wash eggs away from their carefully chosen locations. It's a numbers game, and the odds are stacked against any individual egg. But you laid dozens of eggs, and some of them will make it. As spring approaches and soil temperatures begin to rise, the survivors respond to environmental cues that trigger the next phase of development. Day length increases, moisture levels change, and chemical signals in the soil indicate that the world is waking up from its winter sleep. The first larvae to hatch will emerge into a world full of opportunity. The soil is rich with decomposing organic matter from the previous year. Small prey animals are abundant, having survived the winter themselves and now beginning to reproduce. The ecosystem is primed for a new generation of predators, and your offspring will be ready to take advantage. But they'll face the same challenges you did, the same predators, the same environmental pressures, the same need to survive long enough to reproduce. Most won't make it. The larval stage is brutal, a years-long gauntlet of hunting and hiding, growing and molting, surviving winter after winter until they're finally ready to pupate. Those that do survive will face their own brief adult lives. They'll emerge from the soil as you did, wings unfurling, light organs activating, ready to begin the ancient dance of courtship and reproduction. They'll face the same desperate urgency, the same narrow window of opportunity, the same need to find a mate before their energy runs out. And then they too will die, their bodies returning to the soil, their eggs waiting through another winter to begin the cycle anew. This is the firefly's true legacy, not individual survival, but the continuation of the species. Each generation builds on the last, carrying forward the genetic information that enables the miracle of bioluminescence. Your death is not an ending, but a transition. Your atoms will become part of the ecosystem that sustains future generations. Your genes will live on in your offspring, modified by random mutation and shaped by natural selection. Your species will continue to evolve, to adapt, to survive in an ever-changing world. The firefly's life is brief, but purposeful. Every stage serves a function. Every behavior has been refined by millions of years of evolution. From the predatory larva to the glowing adult, from the hidden egg to the cycling nutrients, every part of the life cycle contributes to the survival of the species. As night falls and the first fireflies of the new generation begin to flash in the darkness, they carry with them the accumulated wisdom of countless ancestors. They know how to hunt, how to hide, how to mate, how to survive. They know the language of light that connects them to their kind. They know their place in the great web of life that connects all living things. And somewhere in the soil, your eggs wait patiently for their turn to join the dance. The cycle continues, as it has for millions of years, as it will for millions more. Life persists, light endures, and the firefly's ancient story goes on. Now let's return to the eggs themselves. By the time autumn arrives, your mother has made her choice, and it's a crucial one. She doesn't just scatter her eggs randomly across the landscape like some insects do. No, she's methodical about it. She searches for the perfect spot, somewhere that offers protection from the elements, but also the right conditions for your development. Maybe it's under a fallen log, nestled between layers of decomposing leaves, or tucked into the soft soil near the base of a tree. The location matters, because you're going to be there for months. What's fascinating is that your mother doesn't just lay you and disappear. She invests energy into creating the perfect environment for your survival. The eggs are coated with a protective substance that hardens slightly, creating a barrier against moisture loss and fungal infections. It's not quite a shell like a bird's egg, but it's substantial enough to keep you safe while you develop inside. Winter is coming, and you're not ready for it. None of your siblings are. But here's the thing about firefly eggs: they're built to wait. As temperatures drop and the world around you freezes, your development slows to an almost complete standstill. You enter a state called diapause, which is essentially nature's version of suspended animation. Your metabolic processes slow down dramatically, your growth stops, and you wait. The waiting is extraordinary when you think about it. While the world above you transforms through winter, covered in snow and ice, you remain in this protected pocket, barely alive but not dead either. Your cells maintain just enough activity to keep you viable, but not enough to deplete the energy reserves your mother packed into your egg. It's a delicate balance that millions of years of evolution have perfected. During this time, you're not conscious of the passage of time. You don't experience the cold or the changing seasons. You simply exist in a state of potential, waiting for the right conditions to continue your development. But the world around you is anything but static. Other creatures are struggling through winter, some dying, others hibernating, and a few thriving in the harsh conditions. Predators still pose a threat, even to your protected eggs. Beetles, spiders, and other invertebrates that remain active during winter might stumble across your hiding spot. Some of them would happily consume you if they found you. But your mother chose well, and the protective coating around your egg helps mask your scent and makes you less appealing to casual predators. As winter progresses, something remarkable happens inside your egg. Even though your development has slowed, it hasn't stopped entirely. Crucial cellular processes continue at a glacial pace. Your nervous system begins to form, your digestive tract develops, and the specialized cells that will eventually produce your bioluminescent chemicals start to differentiate. You're becoming a larva, but so slowly that months pass between significant developmental milestones. Temperature fluctuations affect you, but not in the way you might expect. Brief warm spells don't trigger premature hatching because your internal clock is calibrated to more than just temperature. Day length, moisture levels, and even subtle chemical changes in the soil all contribute to the complex environmental cues that will eventually signal that it's time to emerge. Some of your siblings won't make it through winter. Despite your mother's careful placement and the protective coating, some eggs succumb to fungal infections, are discovered by predators, or simply fail to develop properly. It's a harsh reality, but it's also why your mother laid dozens of eggs rather than just a few. The strategy is about playing the odds, ensuring that at least some of her offspring will survive to continue the cycle. The soil around you is alive with microbial activity, even in winter. Bacteria and fungi break down organic matter, creating a rich environment that will benefit you once you hatch. These microorganisms also help regulate moisture levels and can even provide some protection against harmful pathogens. Your mother's choice of location takes advantage of this underground ecosystem. As winter slowly gives way to spring, the environmental cues begin to change. Soil temperature starts to rise, though it happens gradually over weeks and months. Moisture levels increase as snow melts and spring rains begin. Day length increases, though this affects you less directly since you're buried in the soil. But somehow, through mechanisms that scientists still don't fully understand, you begin to sense that conditions are becoming favorable. Your development accelerates. The slow cellular processes that have been continuing throughout winter suddenly pick up pace. Your body takes its final larval form, your mandibles harden, and your digestive system prepares for the transition from absorbing nutrients from your egg yolk to actively hunting and consuming prey. The bioluminescent cells that will help you signal danger to predators complete their development. The moment of hatching is triggered by a complex interplay of internal and external factors. Your internal development has reached the point where you're ready to emerge. The soil temperature has reached the right threshold, and moisture levels are sufficient to prevent you from desiccating immediately upon hatching. It's a precise calibration that ensures you emerge when conditions are optimal for survival. But here's what makes this process truly remarkable. You don't all hatch at once. Even eggs laid by the same mother, in the same location, on the same day, can hatch days or even weeks apart. This staggered emergence is another survival strategy. If conditions turn bad shortly after the first eggs hatch, there are still others waiting to emerge when conditions improve. It's biological insurance against unpredictable environmental changes. When you finally do hatch, you're not the same helpless creature that many insects are upon emerging from their eggs. You're already a formidable predator, equipped with everything you need to hunt and survive. Your mandibles are sharp, your bioluminescent warning system is functional, and your instincts are primed for the hunt. You emerge from your egg ready to take on the world, or at least the small portion of it that you can conquer as a newly hatched larva. The timing of your emergence is crucial. You need to hatch when prey is available, but before the peak of predator activity. Spring offers the perfect window when the soil is warming and other invertebrates are becoming active, but before the full array of summer predators are hunting at maximum intensity. It's a narrow window, but it's the one that gives you the best chance of survival. The weeks pass as you continue your nightly hunts, each successful mating encounter adding to your legacy. Your eggs remain safely hidden in the soil and leaf litter, protected by their hardened shells and the approaching cold that will soon blanket the landscape. You've done everything evolution programmed you to do. You've survived predators, competed for mates, and ensured the continuation of your species. But now, as autumn deepens and the first frost approaches, your time is running out. Your body is beginning to show the strains of constant activity. The energy reserves you built up during your larval years are nearly depleted. Each night requires more effort to generate the same bright flashes that once came so effortlessly. Your light organ, that miraculous biological beacon that defined your adult existence, grows dimmer with each passing evening. The chemical reactions that create your bioluminescence are becoming less efficient, the luciferin and luciferase in your system breaking down faster than your body can replenish them. The competition hasn't gotten any easier either. Every night brings new challenges as other males crowd the same territories, their lights creating a chaotic symphony of biological signals. You've learned to recognize the patterns of your regular competitors, adjusting your timing and positioning to avoid direct confrontation. But younger males keep emerging, fresh from their pupal chambers, with bright lights and boundless energy. They flash with an intensity that reminds you of your own early nights, when every signal felt like it could illuminate the entire forest. Temperature becomes your enemy now. As the nights grow colder, your metabolism slows dramatically. The chemical processes that power your light require warmth to function efficiently, and each degree drop makes signaling more difficult. You find yourself conserving energy during the coolest hours, waiting for brief, warm spells to become active. Other fireflies are doing the same, creating intense bursts of activity when conditions are right, followed by long periods of relative quiet. Food becomes increasingly scarce as well. The nectar sources that sustained you through the summer are drying up or being consumed by other insects. You spend more time searching for sustenance and less time displaying, but without adequate nutrition, your light grows even weaker. It's a cruel cycle that affects every member of your species. The forest that once seemed abundant with opportunity now feels like a harsh, unforgiving environment where only the strongest and most resourceful survive. Your movements become more labored as the weeks progress. The delicate wings that carried you through countless courtship flights now feel heavy and difficult to control. Landing becomes less precise, and you often find yourself stumbling on branches or leaves that you would have navigated effortlessly just weeks ago. Your antennae, once so sensitive to the chemical signals of potential mates, seem less responsive to the subtle pheromones that drift through the night air. Despite these mounting challenges, you continue your nightly ritual. Something deep in your genetic programming compels you to keep trying, to keep flashing your signal into the darkness, even when the response rate drops dramatically. You've witnessed other males simply stop appearing, their lights vanishing from the familiar territories where they once competed. You don't know if they've moved on, found success elsewhere, or simply succumbed to the inevitable decline that awaits all adult fireflies. The forest itself is changing around you. The lush vegetation of summer is giving way to the brittle, dry landscape of late autumn. Leaves are falling in greater numbers, creating new obstacles and changing the familiar terrain where you've spent so many nights. The sounds of the forest are different too, with fewer insects active, and the calls of nocturnal birds becoming more prominent as they take advantage of the reduced competition. One particularly cold night, you find yourself struggling to produce even the faintest glow. Your light organ responds sluggishly to your attempts at signaling, creating weak, flickering flashes that barely penetrate the darkness. You rest on a low branch, conserving what little energy remains when you detect a familiar scent. It's a female, one you've encountered before during more prosperous nights. She's nearby, possibly receptive, but you're not sure you have the strength to mount a proper courtship display. You attempt to flash your signal, managing only a dim, brief pulse of light. To your surprise, she responds with her own weak signal from somewhere in the darkness below. Both of you are clearly struggling with the same challenges, but the ancient drive to mate overrides the physical limitations. You glide down from your perch, landing clumsily near where you detected her signal. The encounter is brief and less energetic than your earlier matings, but it's successful. She disappears into the undergrowth to find a suitable location for her eggs, while you remain motionless on the ground, completely exhausted. This becomes your final mating. Over the following nights, you find yourself spending more time resting and less time actively searching for partners. Your light, once a beacon that could attract females from considerable distances, now barely illuminates the immediate area around your body. The competitive advantage you once held through superior signaling has evaporated, leaving you unable to compete effectively with younger, more vigorous males. The first hard frost arrives on a clear, still night. The temperature drops rapidly after sunset, and you feel the cold seeping into your small body. Your metabolism, already slowed by weeks of decline, nearly stops entirely. You can barely move, let alone fly or produce light. Other fireflies in the area are experiencing the same fate, their signals becoming increasingly rare and weak until they disappear entirely. You spend your final hours motionless on a blade of grass, your body temperature dropping to match the frigid air around you. There's no pain, no struggle, just a gradual slowing of all biological processes until they cease entirely. Your light organ gives one last, barely perceptible flash before going dark as forever. Around you, the forest continues its nightly symphony, but the magical display of firefly lights that defined the summer nights has ended for another year. Your body will remain where it fell until scavengers find it, or decomposition returns your nutrients to the soil. But your true legacy lies hidden in the earth, in the dozens of eggs you helped fertilize during your brief adult life. Those eggs will endure the harsh winter ahead, their development suspended until the warmth of spring triggers the next phase of the cycle. Inside each egg, the genetic information you contributed will guide the development of a new generation of fireflies, ensuring that your species continues despite the individual mortality that claims every adult. The eggs you've left behind wait in silence through the cold months, but they're not just surviving, they're preparing. Inside each hardened shell, chemical processes slow to a crawl, conserving energy for what's coming next. The winter that claimed your body becomes their shield, protecting them from parasites and predators that would otherwise find them vulnerable. When spring arrives, warmth triggers something ancient in their cellular machinery. Development resumes where it left off, picking up the precise biological rhythm that paused months ago. Your offspring don't emerge all at once. Some hatch early, others take their time, spreading out their arrival like a calculated risk. It's a strategy millions of years in the making, ensuring that at least some will find the right conditions to thrive. The tiny larvae that break free carry more than just your genetics. They inherit the accumulated wisdom of countless generations, encoded in instincts that will guide them through dangers you never faced. Their first meal isn't random vegetation or organic debris. It's often the remains of their own eggshell, packed with nutrients that fuel their initial growth spurt. These new hunters enter a world that's both familiar and completely different from the one you knew. Climate patterns shift, predator populations fluctuate, and food sources appear and disappear with the seasons. Yet the fundamental rules remain unchanged. Hunt or be hunted, grow or die, adapt or fade into extinction. Your larval descendants face the same brutal mathematics of survival that shaped your own journey. For every 100 that hatch, only a handful will reach adulthood. Disease, starvation, predation, and simple bad luck will claim the rest. But those that survive will be stronger, faster, and more cunning than their siblings. Natural selection doesn't pause for sentiment. The species you belonged to has weathered ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and mass extinctions. It has survived the rise and fall of entire ecosystems. Your individual death means nothing to this larger story, but your successful reproduction means everything. Every egg you produced represents another roll of the evolutionary dice, another chance for your lineage to find new solutions to ancient problems. Some of your offspring will develop traits you never possessed: brighter flashes, more efficient hunting techniques, better camouflage, improved resistance to disease. These variations aren't planned or purposeful. They're accidents of genetics, random mutations that occasionally prove useful. The larvae carrying advantageous traits will live longer, reproduce more successfully, and pass those benefits to their own offspring. Others will inherit less favorable combinations of genes. They might flash too dimly to attract mates, move too slowly to escape predators, or lack the chemical defenses that keep them safe. These individuals will struggle and likely fail to reproduce, taking their genetic liabilities with them into oblivion. It's a harsh system, but it's also remarkably effective at producing creatures perfectly suited to their environment. The cycle you completed is just one loop in an endless chain stretching back to the earliest fireflies that ever existed. Your ancestors survived the extinction of the dinosaurs, the formation of mountain ranges, and the slow dance of continents across the planet's surface. They adapted to forests that no longer exist, climates that have vanished, and predators that are now fossils. Each generation faced its own unique challenges and found ways to overcome them. Some developed new toxins to deter predators. Others evolved more efficient light organs or more sophisticated communication systems. A few discovered new food sources or learned to exploit different habitats. The fireflies of today are the descendants of these successful innovators, carrying forward the genetic legacy of millions of years of survival. Your own brief existence was both insignificant and crucial. Insignificant because you were just one individual among countless billions. Crucial because you successfully passed your genes to the next generation, ensuring that the ancient line continued unbroken. Your death was inevitable, but your genetic contribution to the future was not. You earned your place in the great chain of life through successful reproduction. The larvae that emerge from your eggs will face challenges you never encountered. New diseases, changing weather patterns, novel predators, and shifting food webs will test their adaptability. Some will fail these tests spectacularly. Others will not just survive but thrive, discovering new ways to exploit their environment and avoid their enemies. In a few years, when your offspring reach sexual maturity, they'll engage in the same intricate mating rituals that brought you together with your partner. They'll flash their species-specific codes, compete for territory, and search for compatible mates. The most successful will leave behind eggs of their own, continuing the cycle that began long before you were born and will continue long after your last descendant has vanished. The forest where you lived and died will change around them. Trees will grow and fall, streams will shift their courses, and new species will arrive while others disappear. But the fundamental patterns of firefly life will remain constant. The ancient rhythms of egg, cell, larva, pupa, and adult will continue their endless repetition, each generation building on the successes and failures of those that came before. Your story ends here, but the story of your species continues. Every flash of light in the summer darkness carries forward the genetic legacy you helped preserve. Every successful hunt, every avoided predator, every successful mating extends the unbroken chain of life that connects the present to the deep past and the distant future. The eggs you left behind are more than just your offspring. They're the embodiment of hope, the promise that life finds a way to persist despite all obstacles. They carry within them the potential to overcome challenges that would have destroyed you, to thrive in conditions you couldn't survive, and to pass their own genetic gifts to generations yet unborn. In the end, your individual existence was just a brief moment in a story that began hundreds of millions of years ago and will continue for millions more. But without moments like yours, without individuals willing to risk everything for the chance to reproduce, the story would end. Your success ensures that it doesn't. Your death guarantees that life continues. Your legacy lives on in every flash of light that pierces the summer darkness, a testament to the enduring power of the cycle you helped complete. Your days of flying through the darkness are coming to an end. The autumn air has grown colder, and your energy reserves are nearly exhausted. Each flash of your light requires more effort now, and the intervals between blinks grow longer. You've been alive for only a few weeks, but those weeks have been a lifetime of purpose. The mating season is winding down. Most of the females in your area have already found mates and begun laying their eggs. The urgency that once drove you to flash frantically each night has faded. Your reproductive mission is complete, and now your body is simply running out of fuel. The luciferin that powers your bioluminescence is depleting, and your flight muscles are beginning to fail. Other fireflies around you are facing the same fate. You notice fewer lights in the meadow each night. Some of your companions have already fallen to the ground, their tiny bodies scattered among the grass and leaves. Others cling weakly to plant stems, their lights flickering sporadically like dying candles. The symphony of summer lightning that once filled the air has become a sparse collection of fading signals. You try to maintain your territory, but your flights are shorter now. What once were graceful arcs through the air have become labored attempts to stay airborne. You land more frequently, resting on leaves and flower petals to conserve what little energy remains. The predators that once seemed like immediate threats now barely register as concerns. Your focus has narrowed to the simple act of existing for just a little longer. The temperature drops further as autumn progresses. Your cold-blooded body struggles to maintain the basic functions necessary for survival. Movement becomes increasingly difficult, and you find yourself spending more time motionless, conserving heat and energy. The morning dew that once seemed refreshing now feels like a burden, weighing down your delicate wings and making flight nearly impossible. You attempt one final flight as the sun sets on what will be your last evening. Your wings beat irregularly, carrying you only a few feet before you must land again. The light in your abdomen flickers weakly, a pale imitation of the brilliant beacon you once displayed. There are no females to attract, no rivals to warn away, no predators to startle. The light serves no purpose now except as a final testament to the remarkable biological system that has sustained you. As darkness falls completely, you settle onto a broad leaf near the base of an oak tree. Your legs curl beneath you, and your antennae droop forward. The bioluminescent reaction in your abdomen sputters one last time, producing a faint greenish glow that lasts only a few seconds, then it fades forever, and you are still. Your death is quiet and unremarkable. No fanfare, no struggle, just the gentle cessation of the complex biological processes that have kept you alive. Within hours, your body will begin to decompose, returning the nutrients you've accumulated back to the soil. Bacteria will break down your exoskeleton, muscles, and organs, feeding the same ecosystem that supported you throughout your brief existence. But your death is not meaningless. Somewhere in the leaf litter and soil around you, the eggs you helped create lie dormant, waiting for spring. Some will survive the winter, protected by their hardy shells and the insulation of fallen leaves. Others will fall victim to fungal infections, predation, or the harsh conditions of winter. But enough will survive to ensure the continuation of your species. The nutrients from your decomposing body will feed the microorganisms in the soil, which in turn will nourish the plants that will provide habitat for your offspring. The carbon in your exoskeleton will become part of the endless cycle of elements that sustains all life. Even in death, you remain connected to the web of relationships that define the ecosystem. Your brief life represents millions of years of evolution, a culmination of countless generations of fireflies that survived long enough to reproduce. The genes you passed on carry the accumulated wisdom of survival, encoded in DNA sequences that determine everything from wing structure to bioluminescent chemistry. Some of those genes will prove advantageous to your offspring, helping them survive in a world that continues to change. The light you produced during your lifetime was more than just a mating signal. It was a demonstration of one of nature's most elegant solutions to the challenge of communication. The chemical reaction that powered your bioluminescence was nearly perfect in its efficiency, converting chemical energy to light with minimal waste heat. This biological innovation has inspired human technology and continues to fascinate scientists studying the mechanisms of life. As winter settles over the landscape, the ecosystem enters a period of dormancy. The meadow where you spent your adult life grows quiet. Snow will eventually cover the ground, insulating the soil and the precious cargo it contains. Beneath the frozen surface, life persists in its most resilient forms, waiting for the warmth of spring to trigger another cycle of growth and reproduction. Your story is both ending and beginning. While your individual existence has concluded, the genetic legacy you leave behind ensures that your lineage will continue. The eggs that will hatch next spring will carry forward the traits that made you successful, while also introducing new variations that may help the species adapt to changing conditions. This is the ancient rhythm of life and death that has sustained fireflies for millions of years. Each individual plays their part in the greater story, contributing their unique genetic combination to the ongoing experiment of evolution. Your death marks not an end, but a transition, a passing of the torch to the next generation that will carry the light forward into an uncertain future. The cycle continues as it always has, as it always will, driven by the fundamental forces of life, death, and renewal that govern all existence on Earth. The transformation you've undergone is extraordinary, but also perilous. As an adult firefly, you've become a living beacon, your body housing one of nature's most sophisticated light-generating systems. The photophores along your abdomen contain a complex mixture of luciferin, luciferase, and ATP that creates your signature glow. But this remarkable ability comes with a devastating cost. Every flash you produce burns through precious energy reserves, and in your brief adult life, energy is everything. Your wings are delicate, almost translucent membranes that carry you through the darkness. They're functional, but they're also fragile. A single encounter with a spider's web, a bat's echolocation-guided strike, or even a heavy raindrop can damage them beyond repair. Flight is exhausting for your lightweight frame, and every journey from tree to tree depletes the limited fuel your body carries. The world you navigate is a minefield of deception. Photurus fireflies, the femme fatales of your species, have mastered the art of mimicking your flash patterns. They've learned to replicate the exact timing, duration, and intensity of your signals. When you approach what appears to be a receptive female, you're actually flying towards certain death. These predatory females don't just kill you, they consume you, stealing the defensive compounds from your body to make themselves toxic to their own predators. Your compound eyes detect movement in the darkness, but they're not perfect. A praying mantis sits motionless on a flower, its body positioned to intercept your flight path. Spiders stretch their webs across the exact routes you use to patrol your territory. Frogs position themselves near your favorite signaling spots, their tongues ready to snatch you from the air. Every surface you land on could be your last. The competition for mates is ruthless. Other males crowd the same airspace, their flashes creating a chaotic light show that drowns out your own signals. Some flash more rapidly, others more brightly. Some have claimed the prime real estate, the elevated perches where females are most likely to notice them. You're forced to compete not just with your own species, but with other firefly species whose flashing overlaps with yours, creating confusion and reducing your chances of successful communication. Temperature affects everything. Cool nights slow your metabolism and dim your flash, making you less attractive to females, but also helping you conserve energy. Hot nights accelerate your biological processes, but drain your reserves faster. Rain grounds you completely, forcing you to seek shelter while precious mating opportunities slip away. Wind buffets your lightweight body, making precise flight impossible and scattering your chemical signals. Your internal clock is relentless. You emerged from your pupal case with a finite amount of energy, and there's no way to replenish it. Some adult fireflies don't feed at all, living entirely off the reserves they accumulated as larvae. Others sip nectar or consume pollen, but even this provides only minimal sustenance. Every flash, every flight, every moment of activity brings you closer to exhaustion. Disease and parasites attack your weakened adult form. Fungal infections spread through firefly populations, turning your body into a breeding ground for spores. Parasitic mites latch onto your exoskeleton, draining your bodily fluids and interfering with your ability to fly. Bacterial infections enter through tiny wounds, overwhelming your immune system when you can least afford to fight them off. The irony is crushing. You've spent your entire larval life preparing for this moment, growing stronger, developing your hunting skills, surviving through winter hibernation and spring pupation. All of that preparation was for these few weeks of adult life, and yet this is when you're most vulnerable, your predatory larval stage, when you could liquefy and consume prey twice your size, is behind you. Now you're essentially a flying target, advertising your location with every flash. Human activity makes everything worse. Artificial lights confuse your navigation systems, drawing you away from potential mates and towards street lamps where you exhaust yourself in futile circles. Pesticides accumulate in your tissues, disrupting your nervous system and dimming your bioluminescence. Habitat destruction eliminates the specific microenvironments you need for successful reproduction, forcing you to signal in suboptimal locations where predators have the advantage. Your flash pattern is both your greatest asset and your most dangerous liability. It's how you identify yourself to potential mates, but it's also how predators locate you. Each species has evolved distinct patterns, precise timing intervals between flashes, specific durations of light, and characteristic intensities. These patterns are genetically programmed, but environmental factors can disrupt them. Stress, temperature changes, and injury can alter your flashing, making you less recognizable to females of your own species, while potentially making you more attractive to predatory mimics. The chemical communication system you rely on is equally vulnerable. Pheromones carry detailed information about your genetic fitness, your reproductive status, and your species identity. But these chemical signals disperse quickly in moving air, degrade under UV light, and can be masked by pollutants. A single car passing nearby can create air currents that scatter your chemical messages, breaking the delicate communication link between you and potential mates. Your reproductive window is impossibly narrow. Female fireflies are only receptive for a few days, and they're extremely selective. They evaluate multiple males, comparing flash patterns, timing, and persistence. Some females never mate at all, either because they fail to find suitable partners or because they fall victim to predators before reproduction can occur. Others mate but then die before they can lay their eggs, making their entire adult existence meaningless from an evolutionary perspective. The metabolic demands of reproduction are enormous. Males must maintain their flashing displays for hours each night, competing with rivals while scanning for responsive females. Females must evaluate suitors, copulate, and then find suitable egg-laying sites. The energy expenditure is so intense that many fireflies survive only days or weeks as adults, their bodies literally burning out from the effort of reproduction. Even successful mating doesn't guarantee survival. The physical act of copulation leaves both partners vulnerable to predation. Mated females face the additional challenge of finding appropriate egg-laying sites while carrying the extra weight of developing eggs. They must locate moist soil with the right pH, adequate organic matter, and protection from predators. Many females die during the egg-laying process, either from exhaustion or predation. Your species has survived for millions of years, but that survival comes at an incredible individual cost. You are essentially a genetic delivery system, a temporary vessel whose entire existence serves the sole purpose of passing genes to the next generation. Every aspect of your adult anatomy and behavior has been shaped by this single imperative, often at the expense of your own survival and well-being. The bioluminescent display that defines your species is actually a massive evolutionary gamble. It makes you visible to mates, but it also makes you visible to everything that wants to eat you. The energy cost of producing light is enormous. The chemical reactions that create your glow generate heat that can damage your tissues, and the photophores themselves are delicate organs that malfunction easily under stress. As the seasons turn and autumn arrives, your body begins to slow down. The relentless pace of summer hunting and territorial defense has taken its toll. Your movements become more deliberate, less precise. The sharp reflexes that once made you a perfect predator now respond with a fraction of their former speed. You still hunt, but the prey that once seemed easy now requires more effort, more energy than you can consistently spare. The nights grow longer and colder. Your bioluminescent system, once a beacon of vitality, begins to dim. The chemical reactions that powered your light for so many nights are becoming less efficient. Your lantern glows with less intensity, the intervals between flashes growing longer. The energy reserves that once seemed endless are finally running low. You find yourself spending more time resting, clinging to leaves and stems for longer periods. The constant movement that defined your adult life gradually gives way to stillness. Your wings, once powerful enough to carry you through complex aerial courtship displays, now struggle to lift your increasingly weary body. Flight becomes labored, then intermittent, then rare. The world around you is changing too. Other fireflies in your territory are experiencing the same decline. The night sky that once sparkled with hundreds of synchronized flashes now shows only scattered, dim lights. The great chorus of bioluminescent communication that filled the summer darkness is fading to whispers. The mating season is definitively over, and with it, the primary purpose that drove your adult existence. Your appetite diminishes. The nectar and pollen that once sustained your energy levels no longer provide the boost they once did. Your digestive system, never particularly robust in adulthood, begins to function even less efficiently. You eat less frequently, and when you do feed, the nutrients seem to pass through your system without delivering the energy you desperately need. The chemical factories within your body that produce your bioluminescent display are breaking down. The luciferin and luciferase that created your signature glow are being produced in smaller quantities. The ATP that powered each flash is becoming harder to generate. Your internal systems, pushed to their limits throughout the summer, are beginning to fail one by one. You notice that your vision is becoming less sharp. The compound eyes that once tracked prey with precision now struggle to focus on moving objects. The world appears hazier, less defined. Your antennae, once sensitive enough to detect pheromones from great distances, are less responsive to chemical signals. The sensory apparatus that made you such an effective hunter and mate finder is deteriorating. Your exoskeleton, once flexible and strong, begins to feel rigid and brittle. The joints that allowed for precise movement now creak and resist your efforts to flex them. Your legs, which carried you through countless hunts and territorial disputes, begin to shake with the effort of supporting your weight. The physical structure that housed your life force is breaking down. The temperature drops further as autumn progresses toward winter. Your cold-blooded metabolism slows dramatically. The chemical processes that kept you alive and active throughout the summer months can no longer maintain their pace in the cooling air. Your body temperature drops, and with it, your ability to generate the energy needed for basic functions. You find a final resting place, perhaps the same type of location where you spent your larval years. A sheltered spot under a fallen log, in a patch of decaying leaves, or nestled against the base of a plant. Your body, once capable of producing light visible from dozens of meters away, now produces only the faintest glow. The last few flashes of your lantern grow weaker and more infrequent. Your breathing becomes labored. The spiracles that once efficiently exchanged oxygen and carbon dioxide with the environment can no longer keep pace with your body's needs. The tracheal system that delivered oxygen to your tissues begins to fail. Your circulation slows, and the hemolymph that carried nutrients throughout your body moves sluggishly through your vessels. The neurons that once fired with lightning precision, coordinating the complex timing of your bioluminescent displays and the intricate movements of your hunts, begin to misfire. The electrical signals that controlled your muscle contractions become irregular. Your nervous system, the command center that made you a formidable predator and a successful mate, is shutting down. You experience moments of clarity mixed with periods of confusion. Sometimes you attempt to hunt, your body responding to ingrained instincts even as your capabilities fail. Other times you try to flash your lantern, as if seeking one last connection with others of your kind. But the responses are weak, the movements uncoordinated, the light barely visible. The world around you continues its cycle. New larvae, including some that carry your genetic material, are developing in the soil nearby. They will spend the winter in diapause, their biological clocks ticking slowly through the cold months. When spring arrives, they will emerge as the next generation of predators, carrying forward the ancient patterns of behavior that you embodied so perfectly. Your body temperature drops below the threshold needed to maintain basic metabolic functions. The chemical reactions that sustained your life for months or years can no longer proceed at the rate necessary for survival. Your muscles relax for the final time, and your legs fold beneath you. The compound eyes that once tracked prey and potential mates across the night sky close forever. The bioluminescent organs that defined your species produce one last, barely perceptible flash. The photons that once announced your presence to the world fade into darkness. The chemical cascade that created your signature light terminates, leaving only the cooling shell of your body as evidence of the complex life that once animated it. Your death is quiet and unremarkable. There are no predators to notice your passing, no territorial rivals to claim your former hunting grounds. The ecosystem that supported your adult life continues its endless cycles, indifferent to the loss of one individual firefly. Your body begins the process of decomposition, returning the nutrients you accumulated during your lifetime to the soil and the broader web of life. But your death is not meaningless. The eggs you helped create, fertilized during those intense summer nights of courtship and mating, carry forward your genetic legacy. The nutrients from your decomposing body will feed the microorganisms and plants that form the foundation of the ecosystem your offspring will inhabit. The knowledge encoded in your DNA, shaped by millions of years of evolution, will guide the next generation through their own cycles of survival and reproduction. The firefly species continues, as it has for countless generations before you and will for countless generations after. Each individual life is brief, but the species endures through the accumulated wisdom of evolution, the endless refinement of survival strategies, and the remarkable adaptability that allows fireflies to thrive in environments across the globe. Your life as a firefly, from the moment you emerged from that carefully placed egg, through your years as a voracious predator, and your brief but intense period of adult reproduction, represents one thread in the vast tapestry of life on Earth. You played your role in the ecosystem, contributed to the continuation of your species, and participated in the ancient dance of survival, adaptation, and renewal that defines all living things. The night sky, once illuminated by your bioluminescent displays, continues to sparkle with the lights of other fireflies. The summer evenings still pulse with the coded messages of courtship and territorial defense. The cycle of life continues, driven by the same forces that shaped your existence and will shape the lives of all the fireflies yet to come. As your final moments approach, your body begins to shut down in a cascade of biological events that mirror the very mechanisms that once brought you to life. The bioluminescent reactions that defined your existence start to falter as the cellular machinery responsible for producing luciferin and luciferase begins to deteriorate. Your light organs, those magnificent structures that took millions of years to evolve and months to develop during your pupil transformation, gradually lose their ability to generate the cold light that made you a beacon in the darkness. The mitochondria within your cells, the powerhouses that fueled your flight and your luminescence, begin to fail as their membranes become compromised and their ability to produce ATP diminishes. Your nervous system, once capable of precisely timing flash patterns to the millisecond and coordinating the complex behaviors necessary for survival and reproduction, starts to lose its electrical conductivity. The neurons that once fired in perfect synchronization to create your species, specific signals begin to misfire or fall silent altogether. Your compound eyes, which could detect the faintest glimmer of light from a potential mate hundreds of feet away, begin to cloud over as the photoreceptor cells degrade and the intricate lens structures lose their clarity. The decline is not uniform across your body. Some systems fail faster than others, creating a patchwork of functionality that gradually shrinks as the hours pass. Your flight muscles, already weakened from weeks of constant use, lose their ability to contract with sufficient force to lift your increasingly frail body. Your legs, once strong enough to carry you across leaves and bark in search of the perfect launching point for flight, can barely support your weight. You find yourself grounded, unable to escape to the safety of higher perches where you once felt secure from ground-dwelling predators. Your digestive system, already simplified and less critical during your adult phase when feeding was minimal, begins to shut down completely. The small amounts of nectar and moisture you occasionally consumed can no longer be processed effectively, and your body starts to consume its own tissues for energy. This auto-cannibalization is a desperate measure, your cells breaking down proteins and fats to fuel the most essential functions for just a little longer. Your immune system, which protected you from the countless pathogens and parasites in your environment, weakens dramatically, leaving you vulnerable to infections that would have been easily fought off in your prime. The sensory world that once seemed so rich and detailed begins to fade. Your antennae, those remarkable organs that could detect pheromones at concentrations of just a few molecules per million, lose their sensitivity. The chemical landscape that guided so many of your behaviors becomes increasingly dim and indistinct. Your ability to sense temperature changes, humidity levels, and air currents diminishes, leaving you less able to respond to environmental threats or opportunities. As your body temperature regulation fails, you become increasingly dependent on external conditions. Cool nights that once invigorated you now leave you sluggish and barely responsive. Your hemolymph, the insect equivalent of blood, begins to clot irregularly, and circulation becomes poor. Waste products that were once efficiently removed from your tissues begin to accumulate, creating a toxic internal environment that accelerates your decline. Your bioluminescent organs, even as they fail, continue to flicker occasionally with weak, irregular pulses. These final flashes are not the purposeful signals of courtship or warning, but rather the dying gasps of cellular processes that once worked in perfect harmony. The light grows dimmer and more sporadic, like a flashlight with failing batteries, until it finally ceases altogether. In many ways, this final extinguishing of your light marks the true end of your existence as a firefly, even though your body may persist for a few more hours. During these final hours, you may find yourself in a state that could almost be described as peaceful if such a concept can be applied to an insect. Your movements become minimal and deliberate, conserved for only the most essential functions. You no longer respond to stimuli that would have triggered immediate reactions in your healthy state. The constant vigilance that characterized your adult life relaxes as your sensory systems fade and your ability to process information diminishes. Your final resting place becomes determined more by chance than choice. Perhaps you find yourself on the underside of a leaf where you sought shelter from the morning dew, or nestled in the bark crevices of a tree where you once launched into your nightly flights. Maybe you end up on the ground, among the leaf litter and soil where you spent your larval years, completing a circle that connects your death to the environment that nurtured your earliest development. As your consciousness, such as it exists in your simple nervous system, fades away, your body begins the process of returning to the ecosystem that sustained you throughout your life. The organic compounds that make up your tissues, including the specialized proteins that enabled your bioluminescence, begin to break down. Bacteria and other microorganisms that were kept at bay by your immune system now begin the process of decomposition, recycling the elements that formed your body back into the soil and air. Your death contributes to the very environment that will nurture the next generation of fireflies. The nitrogen in your proteins, the phosphorus in your DNA, the carbon in your chitin exoskeleton, all of these elements will be broken down and made available to plants and other organisms. The tree whose bark provided your shelter may absorb some of these nutrients through its roots, growing stronger and providing better habitat for future fireflies. The soil microorganisms that decompose your body will themselves become food for the earthworms and other invertebrates that your offspring will hunt when they emerge as larvae. This recycling of nutrients represents one of the most fundamental aspects of ecological systems. Nothing is truly wasted in nature, and your death is not an ending, but a transformation. The atoms that once formed your light organs may become part of a flower petal, contributing to the very plants that provide nectar for the next generation of adult fireflies. The calcium that strengthened your exoskeleton may be incorporated into the shell of a snail, which will eventually become prey for a firefly larva, carrying your genetic legacy. Your genetic contribution to the next generation represents your true immortality. If you successfully mated and your partner laid fertile eggs, your DNA combinations will live on in the larvae that will emerge in the coming spring. These offspring will carry unique combinations of genes from both parents, creating new variations that natural selection will test against the challenges of their environment. Some may be more efficient at producing light, others may be better at avoiding predators, and still others may be more successful at finding mates. This genetic diversity ensures that your species can adapt to changing conditions and continue to thrive. The eggs you helped create, if you were successful in mating, are now entering their own journey through the seasons. As your body decomposes, these eggs remain dormant in their carefully chosen locations, protected by their shells and the instinctive wisdom of their mother's site selection. Inside each egg, development continues at a pace dictated by temperature and other environmental factors. The same soil that receives the nutrients from your decomposing body may be sheltering dozens of eggs, each containing the potential for a new life story as complex and remarkable as your own. Winter arrives with its own set of challenges for the developing eggs. Temperature drops that would have been lethal to your adult form are easily tolerated by the embryos in their protective shells. Snow may cover the ground where the eggs lie buried, providing insulation that actually helps maintain more stable temperatures. The freeze-thaw cycles that characterize winter in many regions create additional challenges, but the egg's biochemistry is adapted to handle these conditions through the production of antifreeze proteins and other protective compounds. As winter progresses, the eggs continue their slow development. Cell division proceeds at a greatly reduced rate, and the formation of organ systems unfolds over months rather than weeks. This extended development period allows the embryos to be ready for hatching when spring conditions become favorable, timing their emergence with the availability of food sources and suitable environmental conditions. The spring emergence of new larvae represents the completion of your life cycle and the beginning of another generation's journey. These tiny predators, no larger than a grain of rice, will face many of the same challenges you encountered as a larva, but they will also face new ones. Environmental conditions may have changed, new predators may have established themselves in the area, or climate patterns may have shifted in ways that affect food availability or developmental timing. Each new larva carries within its genes the accumulated wisdom of millions of years of evolution. The hunting strategies that will allow it to capture prey, the warning signals that will protect it from predators, the developmental programs that will guide its growth and metamorphosis. All of these complex behaviors and processes are encoded in the DNA you helped contribute to the next generation. Yet each larva is also unique, carrying novel combinations of genes that may prove advantageous in ways that natural selection has not yet tested. The cyclical nature of your species' existence represents one of nature's most elegant solutions to the challenge of survival in a changing world. By alternating between a long-lived larval stage focused on growth and survival and a short-lived adult stage focused on reproduction, fireflies maximize their chances of successfully passing genes to the next generation while minimizing the time spent in the vulnerable adult form. Your brief adult life, lasting only a few weeks, was intense and purposeful. Every night brought new challenges and opportunities, from finding suitable mates to avoiding predators to successfully completing the reproductive process. The energy demands of flight, bioluminescence, and reproduction pushed your body to its limits, but this intensive strategy allows your species to concentrate its reproductive efforts into the optimal time period when conditions are most favorable. The contrast between your larval and adult forms represents one of the most dramatic transformations in the natural world. The ground-dwelling predator that spent years hunting in soil and leaf litter bears little resemblance to the aerial light producer that emerged from the pupal stage. This complete metamorphosis allows fireflies to exploit entirely different ecological niches during different life stages, reducing competition between adults and juveniles while maximizing the resources available to the population as a whole. Your bioluminescent ability, the trait that most clearly defines fireflies in the human imagination, represents millions of years of evolutionary refinement. The biochemical pathways that produce light in your organs are among the most efficient energy conversion systems known to science, converting chemical energy to light with virtually no waste heat. This cold light production allows you to create bright signals without the metabolic costs that would be associated with heat-generating light sources. The evolution of bioluminescence in fireflies likely began as a warning system, alerting predators to the toxic compounds that make fireflies unpalatable or dangerous to eat. Over time, this warning system was co-opted for communication purposes, leading to the elaborate courtship displays that characterize modern firefly species. The ability to control light production with precise timing opened up new possibilities for species-specific signaling, allowing closely related species to coexist in the same habitats without interbreeding. Your species' flash pattern, whether it consisted of single pulses, multiple flashes, or complex sequences, evolved to be distinctive enough to prevent confusion with other firefly species while remaining attractive to potential mates of your own kind. This balance between distinctiveness and attractiveness drives the evolution of increasingly elaborate signaling systems, with some species developing patterns of remarkable complexity and beauty. The ecological role of fireflies extends far beyond their value as pollinators or predators. As larvae, fireflies help control populations of snails, slugs, and other invertebrates that can become garden and agricultural pests. A single firefly larva may consume dozens of prey items during its multi-year development, providing significant biological control services. As adults, fireflies serve as food sources for spiders, birds, and other predators, transferring energy from the invertebrate prey they consumed as larvae to higher trophic levels. The presence of healthy firefly populations often indicates the overall health of an ecosystem. Fireflies require specific combinations of habitat features, including areas suitable for larval development, adult shelter, and mating displays. Their sensitivity to light pollution, pesticide use, and habitat fragmentation makes them excellent indicator species for environmental quality. Declining firefly populations often signal broader ecological problems that may affect many other species. Human activities have created numerous challenges for firefly populations worldwide. Artificial lighting disrupts the darkness that fireflies require for their communication systems, making it difficult for individuals to find mates or causing them to waste energy on ineffective signaling. Pesticide use eliminates the prey species that firefly larvae depend on and may directly poison fireflies at all life stages. Urban development destroys the specific habitat types that fireflies need for their complex life cycles. Climate change presents additional challenges as shifting temperature and precipitation patterns affect the timing of firefly development and reproduction. Species that have evolved to emerge at specific times of year may find themselves out of sync with their prey species or with optimal environmental conditions. Changes in winter temperatures may affect egg survival, while altered rainfall patterns may impact soil moisture levels that are critical for larval development. Despite these challenges, fireflies continue to adapt and persist in many environments. Their long evolutionary history has equipped them with remarkable resilience, and their complex life cycles provide multiple opportunities for adaptation to changing conditions. Some species have shown the ability to adjust their flash patterns in response to light pollution, while others have shifted their activity periods to avoid the brightest artificial lighting. Conservation efforts for fireflies focus on protecting and restoring the specific habitat types that support their complex life cycles. This includes maintaining areas of appropriate soil moisture and composition for larval development, preserving the plant communities that provide adult shelter and prey habitat, and reducing light pollution in areas where fireflies are known to occur. Creating dark refugia, areas specifically managed to minimize artificial lighting, can provide essential habitat for firefly populations in increasingly urbanized landscapes. The study of firefly biology continues to yield insights that benefit both science and human society. Research into firefly bioluminescence has led to the development of important laboratory techniques and medical diagnostic tools. The efficiency of firefly light production has inspired the development of new lighting technologies and energy-efficient systems. Understanding firefly communication systems has contributed to advances in biological signaling research and biomimetic engineering. Your individual story as a firefly, from egg to death, represents just one thread in the vast tapestry of life on Earth. Yet your existence touched countless other organisms, from the prey you consumed as a larva to the potential mates you signaled as an adult. The nutrients from your decomposing body will nourish plants and microorganisms, while your genetic contribution to the next generation will help ensure the continuation of your species' remarkable evolutionary journey. The timing of your life cycle, synchronized with seasonal changes and environmental conditions, connects you to the larger rhythms of the natural world. Your emergence as an adult coincided with the peak of summer's abundance, when warm temperatures and long days provided optimal conditions for flight and reproduction. Your death, as autumn approaches, comes at a time when the next generation is safely developing in their protective eggs, ready to begin their own journey when conditions become favorable again. In the grand scheme of ecological time, your individual lifespan represents just a brief moment. Yet the genetic lineage you belong to stretches back millions of years, connecting you to the first fireflies that developed the ability to produce light and use it for communication. The evolutionary innovations that enabled your existence, from the biochemical pathways of bioluminescence to the complex behaviors of courtship and reproduction, represent the accumulated wisdom of countless generations of fireflies that faced and overcame the challenges of survival and reproduction. Your death marks the end of one remarkable journey, but it also represents the beginning of countless others. The eggs that carry your genetic legacy will give rise to new individuals who will face their own challenges and opportunities. Some may develop new adaptations that help them survive in a changing world, while others may carry forward the tried and true strategies that have served fireflies well for millions of years. The cycle continues, as it has for countless generations, and as it will for countless more. Each new firefly that emerges from its egg begins a journey as remarkable and challenging as your own, carrying within its genes the potential for survival, reproduction, and contribution to the ongoing story of life on Earth. In this way, your individual existence becomes part of something much larger than yourself, a continuous thread in the fabric of evolution that connects the present to both the deep past and the distant future. The firefly life cycle, from egg to larva to pupa to adult to death, represents one of nature's most elegant solutions to the fundamental challenges of existence. Through the complete metamorphosis that transforms a ground-dwelling predator into a flying light producer, fireflies maximize their ability to exploit different ecological niches while minimizing competition between life stages. The extended larval development period allows for substantial growth and energy accumulation, while the brief but intense adult stage concentrates reproductive efforts into the optimal time window. And so, as your brief but extraordinary journey as a firefly draws to its inevitable close, your story becomes part of something far greater than any individual life could ever be. Your existence, though measured in mere weeks as an adult, represents millions of years of evolutionary refinement, a testament to nature's ability to create beauty and purpose, even in the most fleeting moments. The eggs you've left behind in the protective embrace of the soil carry within them not just your genetic code, but the accumulated wisdom of countless generations that came before you. Each tiny sphere contains the blueprint for survival that has been tested and refined through countless cycles of birth, growth, reproduction, and death. These eggs represent hope incarnate, the promise that even as individual fireflies fade, the species endures, adapts, and continues its ancient dance with the darkness. Your larval stage, that lengthy period of growth and predation beneath the earth and among the leaf litter, served as more than just preparation for adulthood. It was a crucial ecological service, helping to maintain the delicate balance of soil ecosystems. Every snail you consumed, every small invertebrate you liquefied with your digestive enzymes, played a role in nutrient cycling and population control. Your underground existence connected you to the very foundation of terrestrial life, making you an integral part of the soil food web that supports entire ecosystems. The metamorphosis you underwent represents one of nature's most remarkable transformations. From an armored terrestrial predator to a delicate, flying beacon of light, you embodied the extraordinary plasticity of life itself. This dramatic change in form and function demonstrates the incredible versatility that evolution has crafted over millions of years, allowing a single species to exploit multiple ecological niches throughout its lifetime. Your adult phase, though brief, was perhaps the most magical aspect of your existence. The bioluminescent courtship displays you participated in represent one of nature's most sophisticated communication systems. The precise timing, the specific flash patterns, the chemical orchestration of luciferin and luciferase all work together to create those moments of ethereal beauty that have captivated humans for millennia. Your light was not just a mating signal, it was poetry written in photons, a love letter composed in the language of biochemistry. The dangers you faced as an adult firefly reflect the harsh realities of life in the wild, but they also highlight the remarkable resilience of your species. Predators, parasites, disease, environmental challenges, and the ever-present threat of deceptive photons, fireflies created a gauntlet of survival that only the most successful individuals could navigate. Your ability to find mates, avoid threats, and successfully reproduce despite these challenges represents a triumph of evolutionary adaptation. The modern threats facing fireflies, particularly light pollution and habitat destruction, represent unprecedented challenges that evolution has not yet had time to address. The artificial lights that disrupt courtship displays, the development that destroys breeding habitats, and the pesticides that poison the soil where larvae develop all pose existential threats to firefly populations worldwide. Your generation may be among the last to experience the relative darkness necessary for successful reproduction in many areas that were once prime firefly habitat. Yet even in the face of these challenges, fireflies demonstrate remarkable adaptability. Some species have adjusted their flash patterns to cut through light pollution. Others have shifted their activity patterns to avoid the brightest periods of artificial illumination, and many have found refuge in protected areas and conservation-minded communities. The resilience you've shown throughout your life cycle reflects the deeper resilience of life itself. Your story also illustrates the profound interconnectedness of all living things, from the microorganisms in the soil that support your larval development to the plants that provide perching sites for your adult courtship displays, from the other insects that share your habitat to the humans who marvel at your bioluminescent performances. You exist within a complex web of relationships that spans the entire biosphere. As your individual light fades, you join the countless fireflies that have come before you, each having played their part in the grand evolutionary experiment that has produced one of nature's most beloved phenomena. Your descendants, hatching from those carefully placed eggs, will carry forward the genetic innovations that made your survival possible, while potentially developing new adaptations to meet the challenges of a changing world. The cycle continues, as it has for millions of years, and as it will, hopefully, for millions more. Each new generation of fireflies represents both continuity and change, carrying forward the ancient patterns of behavior and biology while adapting to new challenges and opportunities. Your life as a firefly, from that first moment of hatching to your final flash of light, has been a perfect expression of life's eternal dance between individual mortality and species immortality. In the end, your existence as a firefly reminds us that even the briefest lives can burn with extraordinary brilliance, leaving behind not just offspring, but wonder, beauty, and an enduring connection to the natural world that continues to inspire and amaze all who witness it. Now click here to see the next video. Thanks for watching, guys.